the rules, because there's always someone who's a little bit confused on how this works. If you are on your last life in the Acer Team Story Cup, you may resurrect one player that's already played today to represent you once again. So for example, Scarlet has died for Acer at this point. If they were on match point, they could bring Scarlet back. Because Harstem had already played today, they're able to resurrect him and play him once again. Now you don't have to resurrect somebody, it's just an option available to you. So Harstem, gonna be here to represent Fnatic once more. Now, coming up against MMA, there's a whole slew of what we could talk about, like what's balanced, what's imbalanced, etc. The reality is, though, I like this matchup right now. I think there are some instances where things can be imbalanced for either players, but that being said, if players are talented enough to make it to the late game, if people can actually get to pass the cheese, so to speak, and play this matchup out, we get to see some of the best games TVP. But, yeah, just retreat from the scout for the time being. Not a lot to really get done by that. The Reaper for Harstem is going to, or for MMA rather, is going to come out. It might be a little bit annoying for Harstem to deal with, but he is building that Zealot. Is he going to cancel with their faster expansion? He's only taking one gas. I imagine this will be the cancel. Waiting on it. No. Yes, no. All right, so he's not going to cancel the Zealot by the looks of it. So the reason I'm kind of sitting here freaking out. No, he did cancel. The reason I'm freaking out over it, the reason you let that Zealot try and complete is if a Terran player's coming at you with cheese. If like you scout that it's a 2 racks, if you scout that there's something that you have to worry about, you don't cancel it. You obviously don't take the Nexus instead. You let the Zealot complete, maybe go for a Stalker behind it.
First blood.
But no, with the Reaper being busy with the probe on the other side of the map, yeah, he just cancels it to get that slightly faster Nexus out. Now this is perfectly fine for Harstem too. Having this Nexus down means there's another location he can pop off the Photon Overcharge once he has energy for it. But that kind of plays into the Terra metagame as well. You kind of want to do that. You want to come in and be like, okay, you wasted an Overcharge and I'll drop you in the main. So it depends on how Harstem handles what follows up here out of MMA. MMA is very good at forcing out Overcharges, just side note, without losing a lot of units either. There are some players who, you'll see them sacrifice a Marine or two, but I've rarely seen MMA lose much of anything to an Overcharge. Now this is incredibly curious to me as well. He's actually prioritizing +1 weapons over Stimpack, over concussive shells or anything like that. Haven't seen this in quite some time, but the big reason for this is, of course, with the faster reactor. This allows them to get enough Marines to deal with Oracles if they're coming. There are magic numbers in StarCraft 2 that you need for a lot of units, like how many Zerglings it takes to kill a Zealot without micro, etc. One of the big things in StarCraft 2 for Terran is you need 6 Marines, bare minimum, to kill an Oracle. No less. If you have any less, doesn't matter how good your micro is, you're going to lose. Ooh, he's going to lose the Reaper. That's actually really unfortunate. Scouts the Robo, though. So he might... I mean... Okay, this scouting information is not exactly crazy good. On one hand, it's very common for a lot of Protoss players to go for faster Colossus now. It's been a long time since we've seen the whole proxy Oracle leading into faster charge, leading into Storms. That's kind of fallen out of favor. That used to be what we'd see all the time. By seeing the Robo like this, you kind of like, okay, he's probably going to go for faster Colossus. That makes a little bit of sense. MMA now starts his Stimpack. But going back to the magic numbers, guys, you need exactly 6 for the Oracle and 3 for the Mothership Core. You can't have any less for that, unfortunately. So by having the reactor out early, not only does it give him the physical Marine count to actually push across the map and force an overcharge, but it gives him the defensive capabilities, producing 3 Marines at a time if an Oracle was going to be a threat. But... yeah, there's that Robo. Not at all surprised to see this come down so quickly. Anyways, Marine's still in the middle of the map meandering around. They may catch this Oracle. MMA is so good at seeing Oracles. Yeah, he sees this Oracle. I guarantee it. I guarantee you he was moving to try and catch that Oracle. But,
game paused.
Harstem. Asking for a quick little pause here. As far as what's going on right now, though, on 2 bases, Saturation's looking really good. His probe count's high. MMA, of course, only just recently established his own natural, so just getting the SCVs built up on it ASAP. A little curious to see the reactor on the factory, though. This is for this Medivacs, of course. I was kind of hoping we'd see some Widow Mines, though. If you guys have been paying a lot of attention to Twitter, you've seen some of the Koreans talking about how much of an issue Widow Mines have been for Protoss lately. It's weird because we really don't see a lot of that translate into tournament play. But the additional buff that they received recently to give them that little bit of extra damage versus shields has been just enough to make them super duper strong. It thins out Zealot waves pretty nicely, but beyond that, unfortunately, the Widow Mines don't carry too much weight. But not to play that down, because a lot of the times it's sellout waves that win games. Now, MMA did position his Marines over here. Again, I think he was anticipating the Oracle to come up after missing in the middle of the map, but still just splits off in 2 groups to be safe for the time being. Downside, because he's playing like this, he doesn't confirm that it's going to be the Colossus. He doesn't know that it's going to be the Blink for the Stalkers and the Vikings, etc. But he also doesn't get to force off that overcharge. So defensively speaking, MMA, I don't know, I think he's going to get caught off a little off guard, quite frankly. Again, I guarantee you guys, he's assuming it's going to be Colossus. You see that Robo come down with an expansion. There's really not a lot of other reasons to have that other than, I don't know, maybe getting an Oracle for Widow Mines. So usually it'll be the follow-up of the Colossus. The Blink tech will be a little annoying to deal with, but this isn't like the Blink you hear about on forums. This isn't the Blink you hear tear and tears about. This is just a Blink that's meant to catch a couple Vikings, units that are out of position, and reposition the Stalkers more accordingly. He's so good. MMA, like, I swear to God, observers aren't even cloaked versus this guy. But picks up with the medevac, unloads towards the main, trying to split the attention of Harstem. He may even come from 2 angles if he recognizes it's only one Colossus for the time being, but a second one does pop out. And Stim to the side there, backs away. Stims forward. Hopes that the Colossus chase the drop. He manages to bait out an overcharge though, really nice. Unloads in the main once again. Stalkers do not have Blink just yet, but the second Blink finishes, this medevac gets picked off. So getting on out of here at a very appropriate timing. Yeah, no way for MMA to quite know that that Blink was seconds away, but it was. But this is key. So we see 4 medevacs out, right? And this is kind of where you want to be as a Terran player. This gives you the ability to drop, it gives you the ability to walk around, to do, I guess, stims if you need to. But he's cut medevac production and starts making Vikings immediately. Between between Vikings and Marauders, or I guess Vikings and Marauders, he's going to actually have the DPS to deal with the Colossus, which often ends up being the problem. 3 Colossus early, oftentimes joined by a Hallucination and a Guardian Shield. Really hard for Terran players to muscle through. And I'm glad we've been seeing more hallucinations lately, actually, just as a side note to that. The hallucinations, you know, so even if it's just one hallucination soaking a volley of Viking hits, sometimes that's all you need. That's all the time in the world you need for your Stalkers to focus on the Vikings and let your real Colossus live behind it. But still producing very, very heavy Colossus counts right now. This is not going to be too fun or too easy to deal with. But the nice thing for MMA is Harstem doesn't really have a big sentry count at the moment. Oftentimes, sentries cutting these Marines in half, lots of Guardian Shields blanketing the army. These are things that become very difficult to deal with. By the way, MMA is not getting lazy with these Marines. He's intentionally leaving one Marine segmented because he's trying to scout the army without burning a scan. Now forced to actually burn that scan, however. 4 Vikings, a couple Marauders. I don't know if he can do this without pulling SCVs, and he is going to pull some SCVs back towards the natural, so rather than actually fighting this with an all-in, he's actually just going to abandon the base for the time being, and this might just be the better choice. Choked up towards the ramp, he's got the advantage of a bunker, he's got positioning. He'll have, of course, a couple SCVs here on the front lines. But this is not going to be easy for MMA to deal with. Harstem has extended thermal lance on these Colossus. He can hit that bunker without repercussion. But again, his greatest fear is going to be those Vikings. They get on top of the Colossus right away. Stalkers do blink to the top of the ramp to focus down the Vikings. 1 Colossus falls. 2 Colossus is about to fall. Is he going to get the 3rd? If he breaks the Colossus count, the Stalkers are a joke to deal with, and MMA loses. Well, actually not much. The Mothership Core gets picked off. Colossus is in full retreat. The Stalkers blink forward. Both players disengaging, but Harstem coming out wickedly far behind. The Vikings, unfortunately, did not quite get threaded away as quickly as he wanted to. Blinking aggressively on that high ground was just suicide, and looks like MMA is going to wrap this up for Acer. 5-2 in the end. Congratulations to Team Acer.